Last Christmas while I was home, we grabbed some cheap Ryanair flights from Dublin to Prague. We don't get flights that are Ryanair cheap in the US, so it was great to get away. We could see on the Uber trip into the city that it was beautiful, old medieval streets, and so once we arrived we quickly checked in and got out the door to have a look at the Christmas markets. One Prague street food specialty is the Ddelnik, dough grilled over charcoal. Originating from Slovakia, these things are delicious. We also saw crisps being made with a really cool drill bit, or chips if you're that way inclined. One of the most popular sights in Prague is the astronomical clock. Every hour on the hour, it puts on a little display. And it's also voted one of the most boring tourist destinations in the world, for pretty good reason. The next morning it was across the river to Prague Castle, which isn't really a castle. This is a castle. No, it was more of a cathedral, but still worth a look. It had the most beautiful ceiling, and crypts fitting of a Dan Brown novel.
Dan Brown. I'm looking for a Mr. Dan Brown.
I've found rooftop vistas to be a bit of a mixed bag in cities, but the view from the top of this cathedral, with the fog rolling off the river, spectacular. I checked, Dan Brown wasn't in there. Another popular sight, this statue with his lad out, which every tourist had to get a photo of. Descending from the grounds of the castle brings us down to the river, which looked quite eerie in the fog. Especially when you come across this huge gathering of swans being fed by the sympathetic tourists. Terrible idea, this is how they end up so vicious.
Just hold on.
As we crossed the Charles Bridge at sunset, we could even see the movement of the fog as it cascaded over the wall of the bridge. But it's at sunset that the beauty of the river really comes to life. After a day of walking our feet off, it was time for a nice meal. We went for a tasting menu at a fancy hotel which had more cutlery than I've ever seen in front of me, and we had a live pianist. This scene could have been location cast in a Wes Anderson movie, the Grand Budapest at its prime. From here we made our way for some cheap Czech pills to what was essentially a post-communist era beer hall. Because life's all about contrasts. And then, just like that, it was time to leave. Unlike Paris, Berlin or Rome, I had heard nothing but glowing reports about Prague, so I was a little apprehensive. I almost didn't want to be disappointed, and I wasn't. Thoroughly recommend it.